When peace feels unfamiliar, restoration begins here. This is Pipe Podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to Pipe Podcast. I'm Kizia. Today feels less like recording a podcast and more like we're just going to have a conversation. I've been thinking a lot lately about how the body holds pain, how survival changes us, and how sometimes we think we've moved on from something, but our bodies are still carrying what happened. And the more I've learned about this, the more that I've realized healing isn't just emotional. It's also very much physical. I think a lot of people are functioning every single day while their nervous systems are just exhausted, still anticipating disappointment, still preparing for problems, still carrying the stress that never really got to process. And after a while, survival starts feeling normal. Your body adapts to it. Your brain adapts to it. Your nervous system adapts to it. There's a quote from The Body Keeps the Score that says, "Being able to feel safe with other people is probably the single most important aspect of mental health." That stayed with me because I don't think we realize what happens when safety has been missing for a long time. The body learns hypervigilance. The body holds on to tension. The body learns how to stay prepared. And sometimes, if it stays prepared long after the danger has changed. And after a while, survival starts to feel normal. Your body adapts to it. Your brain adapts to it. Your nervous system adapts to it. There's a quote from The Body Keeps a Score that says, "Being able to feel safe with other people is probably the single most important aspect of mental health." That really stayed with me because I don't think we realize what happens when safety has been missing for a really long time. The body learns hypervigilance. The body learns tension. The body learns how to stay prepared. And sometimes it stays prepared long after the danger has changed. I remember getting to a season where things were actually calmer. There wasn't a crisis happening and nobody was angry. Nothing was falling apart, yet I just couldn't relax. I could have been sitting on a beach on a luxury vacation in Hawaii and still be scanning for the next problem. On one of those trips, I ordered a Mai Tai. I don't really drink, so to my family, it was a big deal. And my kids just couldn't stop laughing. They kept asking me if I was drunk because they had never seen me that relaxed before. It was funny in the moment, but looking back, it says a lot. My kids weren't reacting to me having a drink. They were reacting to seeing me at ease. And the truth is, it took a drink to get there. Thank God that never became a habit, but it made me realize something. My body had spent so many years preparing for impact that it didn't know what to do when the impact didn't come. Peace felt unfamiliar, and unfamiliar felt uncomfortable. I just kept looking for the problem and waiting for something to happen. I would feel like I had forgotten something. And looking back now, I can see that my nervous system had been carrying far more than I realized. Another line from The Body Keeps the Score says, "Traumatized people chronically feel unsafe inside their bodies." When I first read that, something just clicked. Because trauma isn't always one dramatic event. Sometimes it's years of instability, years of uncertainty, years of carrying pressure your body was never designed to hold alone. And eventually, the body starts storing what the heart had never got to release. I think about that even when it comes to my miscarriages, because one of the things that I've noticed is that even long after the pregnancy is over, my body is still trying to carry it. That has been so hard for me because sometimes the world moves on faster than the body does. People see time pass and they assume healing has happened, but the body doesn't always work that way. I noticed that no matter how short or long the pregnancy was, my body would hold on to it. My weight changed, my hormones changed, my energy changed. And even when my mind understands what happened, my body was still processing it. It's almost like my body remembers every baby, even when they're no longer here. For a long time, I just found that so frustrating. I wanted my body to let go faster. I wanted to move forward faster. But I started wondering if maybe my body isn't failing me. Maybe it's actually telling the truth. Maybe it's reminding me that grief isn't just emotional, it's physical too. And I think that's true for so many kinds of loss. Heartbreak, betrayal, fear, disappointment. The body carries what the heart experiences. And healing isn't always forcing yourself to move on. Sometimes it's learning how to walk compassionately through what your body is still processing. I was reading some of Dr. Caroline Leaf's work recently, and one of the things she talks about is how our thoughts and experiences shape the brain. Trauma can create pathways centered around fear and survival, but healing can create new pathways too. And that gave me some real hope, because healing isn't pretending nothing has affected you. Healing isn't pretending that you're over it. Healing isn't forcing yourself to move on before you're ready. Healing is teaching your mind and body that they don't have to stay prepared for pain forever. The brain can heal. The nervous system can settle. And peace can become familiar. And I think awareness is where that process starts. Not shame, not pretending. Awareness. Recognizing what we have normalized. Recognizing what we have carried. Recognizing the patterns that once protected us may no longer be serving us. I think scripture showed us this process long before neuroscience explained it. I think about Joseph. He was betrayed by his brothers, thrown into a pit to die. He was sold into slavery and falsely accused, imprisoned. He was forgotten. If anyone has a reason to become bitter, it would have been Joseph. If anyone had a reason to stay stuck in what happened to him, it was Joseph. His body carried years of grief, years of betrayal, years of injustice, years of disappointment. But eventually, he stood face to face with the people who hurt him and said, "What you meant for evil against me, God meant for good." That verse means even more to me now than it used to, because Joseph wasn't pretending the pain didn't happen. He wasn't denying what he went through. He wasn't rewriting the story. He was telling the story from a healed perspective instead of a wounded one. And I think that's what healing really is. Not pretending we were never hurt, not pretending we didn't lose things, not pretending that people didn't wound us, but refusing to let those things become the final authority over our lives. Pain can become our identity, or it can become part of our redemption story. And that matters because healing is generational. Pain gets passed down, but healing does too. Bitterness gets passed down, but healing does too. Shame gets passed down, but healing does too. Fear gets passed down, but healing does too. And when I think about my children, that's what I want for them. I want them to inherit healing, not just survival. I want them to know true joy, and I want them to know how to rest. I want them to know that peace is something that they are allowed to experience. I want them to see what it looks like when someone chooses to do the work of healing instead of carrying their pain forever. The other night, I took my son and his friend to Topgolf. I had worked all day and I still had a ton of editing to do. I even brought my computer because I planned on working while they played. But my son asked me to play. So I closed the computer and I played. We laughed. We competed. And yes, I won every round. But what stayed with me was not winning. It was realizing that for those couple of hours, I was completely present. I wasn't waiting for the next problem. I wasn't carrying tomorrow. I wasn't bracing for impact. And I wasn't mentally somewhere else. I was just there, enjoying my son, enjoying the moment. And maybe that sounds so small, but when you've spent years in survival mode, being present is a really big deal. Joy is such a big deal. Peace becomes a big deal. because those moments remind you that healing isn't just something you talk about. It's something that you get to experience. Maybe teaching the body safety again doesn't happen all at once. And maybe it happens in moments. A deep breath, a quiet morning, a really good conversation with a friend, or a night at Topgolf with your son. Little by little, your body starts learning what your heart has been hoping for all along. It finally feels safe enough to live again. Scripture says, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." I think there are a lot of weary people right now. People carrying years of emotional pain in bodies that were never fully able to get rest. People who have become so good at surviving that they forgot what it feels like to simply be at peace. But I also believe healing is possible. Not overnight, definitely not perfectly, but slowly, little by little, breath by breath, moment by moment. Maybe healing isn't becoming somebody new. Maybe it's teaching your mind and your body they're finally safe enough to become who they were always meant to be. And maybe it starts by listening to what the body has been trying to say all along. We've spent a lot of time talking about survival and about nervous systems, about trauma, and about learning how to feel safe again. And maybe that's where I want to leave us today. Teaching the body safety again is important. Learning how to rest is important. Learning how to stop surviving is so important. But eventually, another question starts showing up. What do you do when survival is no longer your full-time job? Who are you when you're not constantly managing a crisis? Who are you when you're not carrying the weight of what happened yesterday? Who are you when peace starts to feel normal? I've been thinking about that a lot lately because I think healing gets talked about as a destination, but maybe healing is actually just the beginning. Maybe the real question is, how do you build a life after survival? When you do get to learn joy again, purpose again, connection again. How do you become familiar with the version of yourself that isn't constantly bracing for impact? That's what I want to talk about next time. Because I think healing gets talked about as the destination, but maybe healing is actually the beginning. Maybe the real question is, how do you build a life after survival? How do you learn joy again, purpose again, connection again? How do you become familiar with the version of yourself that isn't completely bracing for impact? And that's what I want to talk about next time, because I think many of us know how to survive. The harder part is learning how to live. So thank you for sitting with me today. This is Pipe. plug into positive energy, and I will see you next time. Thank you for sitting with us today, where restoration begins.